Hey Jexiteers, thanks again for stopping by. If you're new to the channel, my name is Riley and I'm a former Jehovah's Witness. This series of videos is all about how I woke up or came to the realization that Jehovah's Witnesses were a false religion, not really a religion at all, and actually a very destructive high control group. This video is the second video in the series. If you haven't seen the first video yet, I'm going to put a card up there. So you can just click on that and go and watch that video first and then come back to this one. Okay, so part 2. The stereotype that witnesses have of non-witnesses, or as they like to call them, worldly people. So if you've never been a Jehovah's Witness, or if you know very little about the group, you may not fully understand why this is such a big thing. Witnesses are prohibited from socializing or having close relationships with people who are not inside the organization. The rationale behind this is taken from a scripture in the Bible in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 33, which says that bad associations spoils useful habits. And the idea behind the application of this scripture is that if you have close association with people who are not following Bible principles as taught by Jehovah's Witnesses, then their behavior, speech and beliefs will influence you and erode your behavior, speech and beliefs. Now, on the surface, this doesn't seem too unreasonable. I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses aren't the only people who say things like that. For example, I think there's a quote attributed to Jim Rohn that says, "You are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with." And the internet is full of quotes about surrounding yourself with people who share the same goals, ambitions and dreams as yourself, and that will help you to be able to achieve those things more easily because you're surrounded by like-minded people. Another quote by the famous economist Warren Buffett says, "Always surround yourself with people who are better than you." So I'm sure you're getting the point. Very few people would argue that if you surround yourself with people who are good, they'll elevate you. If you surround yourself with people who are bad, they'll bring you down. However, the problem I have with the witnesses' view or understanding or application of this is that, like with most things, they take it to the extreme. A witness definition of a bad person is anyone who isn't a Jehovah's Witness. And since all non-witnesses are bad and the world is full of non-witnesses, hence the world is a really, really bad and wicked and evil place. So at this point, I just want to quote some things from JW literature on this topic of worldly people and associating with them. And this quote is taken from the Awake magazine. It's the October the 22nd edition on page 15. The article is entitled "The Truth Gave Me Back My Life." Okay, so this is what it says. "The world may appear to be glamorous and inviting, and it wants you to believe that you can have its form of fun without pain. But this simply isn't possible. The world will use you, and when it is through, it will throw you away. The Bible truthfully says that the devil is the ruler of the world. Indeed, it's God. And that we should be loving neither the world nor the things in it. Since worldly people are existing as slaves of corruption, their company cannot bring you true happiness." Okay, so here this article is characterizing non-witnesses or worldly people as slaves of corruption who cannot bring you happiness through their company. So if you keep company with people who are not witnesses, you will never be happy. Okay, so I'm going to read you another one. This one's taken from the Watchtower Magazine, the study edition 2019, and it's the January issue. On page 15, the article is entitled, "How Can You Safeguard Your Heart?" Now, in paragraph 6, under the subheading, "How Satan Tries to Infect Our Heart," it says this: "Satan wants us to become like him, a rebel who ignores Jehovah's standards and is motivated by selfishness. Satan cannot force us to reason and act as he does, so he tries to achieve his goal in other ways. For example, he surrounds us with people who are already corrupted by him. He hopes that we will choose to spend time with them, even though we know that bad associations will spoil or corrupt the way we think and act. That tactic worked with King Solomon. He married many pagan women, and they eventually had a powerful influence over him and gradually inclined his heart away from Jehovah. So in this article, non-witnesses are being characterized as corrupted by Satan himself. Not only are they corrupted by Satan, they are tools of Satan because he uses them to try and corrupt you. So if you're not a witness, you are corrupted by and a tool of Satan the devil. Okay, so I'm going to read you one last quote. This one is a bit of an older one. It's taken from the Watchtower Magazine, 1961, July the 1st edition, and it's entitled, "Watch Your Associations in the Time of the End." Okay, and in paragraph 2 of that article, this is what it says. Ignoring the good principles of the scriptures that teach love for neighbor, the people of this world act like wolves as they fight among themselves to get all they can at the expense of others. Their selfish policy is commonly expressed as dog eat dog. Because God's servants in the New World society do not follow the selfishness and immoral practices of the world, they are like sheep among wolves. So there you have it. Non-witnesses are tools of Satan. They're corrupted by Satan. They're selfish and they're like wolves. In all fairness, there are people in this world who act this way. There are selfish people in the world. There are people in the world who have animalistic tendencies. There are people in this world who are not good people to hang around with. I mean, if you're a parent with small children, or children of any age for that matter, I'm sure there are certain people that you would rather your children hung around with and people that you'd rather they wouldn't. That's just a fact of life. There are good and there are bad people. But the way that Watchtower characterizes all people who are not witnesses as being like this is not only extreme, it's also very, very untrue. So this begs the question, why? Why do they do this? Why do they characterize non-witnesses in this way? And the simple answer is because that's what high control groups and cults do. So I'm just going to read you a quote from this website called Online Psychology Degree. Just this short paragraph here. It says, cults prove powerful because they are able to successfully isolate members from their former non-cult lives. One of the ways cult leaders achieve this is to convince their followers that they are superior to those not in the cult. This us versus them mentality ultimately leads to cult members isolating themselves socially from friends and family. They replace those relationships with new ones inside the cult. I'll just read you another one. This is from a book written by Janja Lalick. I probably butchered her name, but she's a cult expert who's studied cults extensively. This is what she says in her book. Cults, those that consider their ideology the one true path, share 4 key characteristics. They, 1, espouse an all-encompassing belief system. 2, exhibit excessive devotion to the leader. 3, avoid criticism of the group and its leader. And 4, feel disdain for non-members. As a former Jehovah's Witness, I can say that every single one of those points is true. Each of those points applies 100% to Jehovah's Witnesses. As I've mentioned before in previous videos, when I was disfellowshipped from Jehovah's Witnesses, I lost my entire support network. And the people who actually, came to my aid were non-witnesses, non-witness friends, family, and colleagues. In fact, I'm going to play you a short clip from one of my previous videos where I speak about this in more detail. Because it was worldly people, worldly friends and acquaintances that I had that really, really showed me a superhuman amount of care and consideration at that point. And I can honestly say that was probably the start of my waking up. That was the start of my waking up, because it baffled me that worldly people that I've been taught all this time. I never really fully believed it to the degree that it's taught, you know, how bad worldly people are. Well, I don't like using that term, non-witnesses, how bad non-witnesses are. But now I was receiving first-hand experience of non-witnesses going above and beyond to help me when I was in a crisis. The kind of help and, you know, emotional support and assistance that I believed only existed within the Jehovah's Witness organization. No word of a lie. I had people wash my clothes for me. I had people give me clothes. I had someone who literally sat down and cried with me, you know, when I was going through all of this turmoil. So after experiencing these things, it was a huge revelation to me. I was raised as a witness, and I believed, for the most part, all of this propaganda that Watchtower says about worldly people. I mean, I did have some non-witness friends that I got on really well with, and I never really saw them in this way. But I don't know, it's one of those things, as a witness, you just push to the back of your mind. I mean, you have to do that a lot as a witness, because you encounter so many things on a daily basis that contradict or challenge the worldview that you have. But you don't want to admit that your worldview is wrong, so you just put it in the back of your mind. And when it came to the idea of worldly people, that's what I did where my worldly friends were concerned. But the wider world of non-witness people, I completely believed this about. But it took falling on hard times and having non-witness people, you know, render me assistance and come to my aid. It took that experience to unravel that, and for me to think to myself, hold on a second, this just doesn't add up. What I've been taught about how people are outside of the organization doesn't ring true. And then I met my girlfriend, who is the most moral, principled and decent person that I've ever met in my life. So after meeting, getting to know and falling in love with her, that was the second nail in the coffin for me. That was the second thing that caused me to say, what I've been taught on this particular issue is wrong. It's completely wrong and it's completely false. Not only that, the fact that I've been dealt with by witnesses in ways that my non-witness friends and family wouldn't even dream of dealing with me was a big wake-up call as well. All in all, the whole thing just made me realize that the witnesses do not have the monopoly on good people, and the world does not have the monopoly on bad people. There is plenty of overlap either way, because wherever you go, people are just people, and some people are good and some people are bad. And that is a truth, that is a fact that cuts across all metrics, whether it's religion, race, age, nationality, gender, whatever. It doesn't matter. Whether a person is good or bad has nothing to do with any of those things. It's just how that person is on the inside. So while I agree with that scripture in 1 Corinthians 15:33, bad associations do spoil useful habits, you can't classify an entire group of people as being bad association. It just makes no sense. It's objectively untrue. So that was the second step in my process of waking up, or realizing that the Jehovah's Witnesses were a false religious, highly destructive, high control group. So the next video will be about the governing body, who are really the leaders of the Jehovah's Witness organization. and I'm going to speak about how certain things that I came to understand and realize about them helped me to realize that I was in a false religion. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.